There are few games that need less of an introduction than Resident Evil 4. Not only was the original a critically acclaimed bestseller that's been remastered and ported to 12 different systems, but it's also one of the most influential games of all time, inspiring countless other acclaimed franchises and basically kind of revolutionizing third-person shooters. But truth be told, I've never actually played the original, which for the purpose of this video is great, because it means I have no nostalgia for it, so I won't be sitting here crying about how the remake is actually a soulless cash grab because you can't look up Ashley's skirt anymore. And while I have played both the 2 and 3 remakes, as well as 5, 6, and 7, I knew that many people consider 4 to be the best, so I was looking forward to this, in the hopes that it really provided a new experience that was worthy of the praise that the original game gets. And while you'll have to ask someone else how it compares to the original, from an RE4 newcomer's perspective, I can thankfully say that goddamn, this shit kicks so much fucking ass. Resident Evil 4 was the first game in the series to really move from survival horror into action, increasing the number of enemies on screen, upping the movement speed, and giving you a wider arsenal of weapons. And this remake takes that a step further, adding full third-person movement, the ability to block and parry, new encounters, and much more. Even comparing this to the RE2 remake, it's a very different style of game. Gone are the moments of shooting an enemy in the head 10 times and seeing them still get back up again. Instead, enemies in RE4 die a lot quicker, but the game throws so much more at you to compensate. Personally, I much prefer this style, and I always get more enjoyment out of the tension of trying to survive an insane gauntlet of foes, as opposed to the tension of having to run by 2 zombies in a hallway because your pea shooter ran out of bullets. Your main goal for this game is to rescue the president's daughter, and once you eventually do find her, you have to keep her safe, which is easier said than done. Ashley is a total liability in this game, and her head is like a magnet for catching stray tomahawks and scythes flying across the screen. But I actually think this really works in the game's favor, as it means you constantly have to be on your guard because you can get put in a bad spot at a moment's notice, and fighting your way out of tough spots is probably my favorite part of the game. I especially love some of the sections in the castle, and cranking the difficulty up can make these encounters really exhilarating, as there is just so much shit going on that you have to balance at once, and it makes for a really tense and memorable experience.
Ashley! The pig is just destroying me and Ashley! He's fucking down her!
That's fine.
The pig is down her stupid ass! What is this fucking game?
Compared to the original, this remake does have a more serious tone that goes in line with Capcom's other remakes. That being said, it does retain some of the OG's signature camp and goofiness, and while I do wish they would have pushed the camp further in this remake, I still love how they decided to go all out with certain things like the pirate shooting gallery. And this more playful, action-heavy approach is reflected in the core gameplay itself, as stunning an enemy allows for some hilarious melee finishers like front kicks, wheel kicks, and even suplexes. The new knife is also a fantastic addition, giving you the ability to block or parry as well as stealth kill, at the cost of having the knife degrade with each use before eventually breaking and needing to be repaired. It's a fun little system that rewards stealth and those who can time parries, but the degradation balances it out so you can't just completely knife your way through everything. From a visual standpoint, this remake is pretty stunning, with some beautiful lighting and color grading, especially in the first few hours of the game when exploring the village and its surrounding areas. The new character models and facial animations are great and obviously better than the original, but also a solid step above even those in the RE2 and 3 remakes. And the addition of ray tracing and hair strands is cool, though not worth the performance hit in my opinion, so I turned them off. But that's okay, because without it, the game still looks great. My only real complaint about the visuals is the rain effects, which just look overly white and feel like some GTA remastered rain. Thankfully, the rain is only in a small part of the game, but it's just strange that these look so poor in an otherwise excellent looking game. Narratively, Resident Evil 4 is not going to blow you away by any means, but as far as Resident Evil stories go, it's pretty solid. Resident Evil games have always kind of been out there with their stories, as they pretty much all revolve around some ridiculous batshit zombie conspiracy nonsense, so you never really go into these looking for some hard-hitting emotional experience, but they can still be very entertaining with all the fun scenarios and crazy bullshit they throw at you, which is certainly the case with Resident Evil 4. Of the ones I've played, I think Resident Evil 7 has the best story, but I think that RE4 is a solid second place. For the most part, the voice acting is really good too, though I will say I was not the biggest fan of Ada's new voice actor. I think her delivery is a little flat, and it's a step below RE2 Ada. Aside from that, however, I think that the rest of the cast is good, and you can tell that the Merchant, Ramon, and Krauser actors had a lot of fun with the ridiculous nature of those roles, and it shows in the results.
We like our herbs, we do. Heal a man, kill a man, they do it all.
Now, look, there's plenty more I can say about this game, but the truth is, I've always found it much harder to write reviews for games that I have almost nothing but praise for. Because when something is just so goddamn good, it's hard for me to find creative ways to tell you that without just sitting here and listing off every single thing like boss fights good, side quests good, gunplay good, and so on and so forth. So instead of rambling for another 5 minutes about how cool everything is, I'll just leave you with this brief anecdote. When I finished Resident Evil 4, I sat down and prepared to do a nice little write-up so I could make a quick little video, but I had trouble starting it. So instead of writing the review, I just booted up the game and played through it again. If you've made it this far into the video and still haven't gone off to play the game yourself, I don't know what else I could possibly say to convince you. This is an easy Game of the Year candidate, and it'll be very hard to beat for any upcoming games. It's not a perfect experience, but it's damn close, and I cannot recommend this enough to pretty much anyone who plays games even passively. Oh, and for any of the weirdos out there who might be mauling about how old thing good, new thing bad,
You talk too much. Failed.